Now, recent general election polling shows Trump and Biden neck and neck in a head-to-head matchup, but recent polling in swing states show that Biden is gaining some ground. What do you make of all these numbers?
The first thing to say, first, is almost certainly will be a close election in terms of overall numbers. That doesn't always mean that the Electoral College will turn out closely, because you could win 4 or 5 states in a very close election and win overwhelmingly in the Electoral College, but even lose the popular vote. But the key thing the audience needs to know about polling as it leads up to the election is that until Labor Day, they ask people who are registered voters. Registered voters aren't always the likely voters. So, for example, people who are very concerned about overturning Roe v. Wade, the Dobbs decision, they will be almost certainly be voters, right? But they may be overwhelmed in the polling by people who, it turns out, have sort of less intense views and may not show up. And one of the things that we're seeing also in polling is that there is less interest in the presidential election this year than in previous years. That may be because it's the first time two candidates who ran against each other before are running again since Eisenhower and Stevenson ran against each other in '56. But for whatever the reason, it's likely to be close. And I think a key state will be Pennsylvania. It'll be hard to win the presidency for either candidate without winning Pennsylvania. It used to be Florida and Ohio. Those are now pretty securely Republican states. But Pennsylvania is a true toss-up. So actually is North Carolina and Georgia. These used to be solid Republican states. Well, at least a couple of them were. But we're seeing a change in the electorate. We're also seeing a change in the composition of each side's electorate. The people who would have been Harry Truman Democrats now vote Republican. They like Donald Trump. And a lot of the wealthy suburbs of Washington and New York and Chicago and everywhere else are now pretty reliably Democrat. One of the interesting questions, Brittany, is whether all the chaos on the streets, all the pro-Palestinian demonstrations and the riots at universities, which are pretty far removed from the kind of Democrats you see in the suburbs, whether that will either force them not to go to the polls or even vote Republican. So that's all up in the air.